Welcome to Shakaama Politics. Let's talk about Sweden. Now, why do I want to talk about Sweden? Sweden, very tiny country as far as population goes, took in the most Muslim immigrants in all of Europe, I believe. They took nearly 160,000 immigrants in 1 year, on top of all the other stuff. Now, it has gotten so bad there, as far as even being able to logistically take care of 160,000 people, that in the fall of last year, they were saying, regardless of what people want, that's the immigrants or the refugees, refugees, regardless of what the refugees want and what some invisible political power wants, as far as allowing the refugees to go into Sweden, logistically, Sweden cannot take care of any more refugees. What does that mean? They were saying that they have zero space as far as apartments or houses, any actual structure to house any sort of refugees, so that any future refugees coming into the country in the fall, after the fall, they were talking about they would have to live in tents. We're talking about Sweden, ladies and gentlemen. We're not talking about Africa. We're not talking about the Caribbean. We're talking about Sweden. It gets 30 below in Sweden. They would have an international incident on their hand just because of that, the logistics of being unable to take care of those refugees, and then they would be basically killing the refugees because they have no place to put them, and they'd freeze to death. Okay, so there's that issue. Let's set that aside, right? You all have that clearly in your mind. Then you have tremendous, rampant unemployment in the country. Rampant unemployment. And over 50% of them are the refugees or quote-unquote immigrants. Now we're talking about immigrants. We're talking about people who are not born in Sweden, and 50% of them are unemployed. Let's compound this by talking about economics. I always like to talk about economics. We're talking about people coming into the country, and because Sweden is socialist, and you have free medical, I believe, and free stuff, free social programs there. So these people come and they simply burden their social program structure. Their economy went from the positive to the negative, because you have people who never contributed to any sort of taxation scheme in the country, then to just sapping all the social programs that were available, and they're unemployed. It doesn't matter how much your heart bleeds for somebody. If a child comes in your house and it dies of starvation, you have done absolutely nothing good for that child, right? If you get the metaphor. Now, let's set that aside. Now we have riots, car bombs, personal crimes, assault of females being assaulted in certain ways by immigrants, quote-unquote refugees. And to top it all off, the police have been tasked with being politically correct. The politicians are trying to enforce political correctness on the rest of the population. You owe a duty to your population, to your citizens. You don't owe a duty to refugees who travel through many, many, many countries to get to your country. Why are they in your country? Why? With such a small population. And let's add insult to injury. Hi, thanks for the free food. Thanks for the women that I beat up. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do now is we're going to set up Sharia law in your country that believes in complete freedom of almost everything, right? Freedom of religion. We want to institute Sharia law in your country. And I don't mean that they believe in freedom of religion like we do here in the United States. We say we have freedom of religion, but we do not have freedom of religion if you're confused about it, why don't you go take a look at what it actually means in the court system? Because you do not have the right to practice your religion 24 hours a day, because the Supreme Court has now said that you don't have, we can override your freedom of religion. Do you know that the Constitution says point blank, freedom of religion is without question? But the Supreme Court says, oh, no, they didn't mean without question. What they really meant was when you're in your bedroom. Oh, not even in your bedroom. You can't even practice your freedom of your religion in your bedroom. In fact, you can't practice anywhere that the state doesn't tell you that you can practice it. That's how terrible our Constitution is right now. Anything that you've heard about we having freedoms in the United States is a complete and bald-faced lie. The Supreme Court and Congress and Obama has literally shredded, torn up, thrown gasoline, and lit the entire Constitution. You literally have no freedoms. And they're paying lip service and speeches. We do not have freedom of country. Now, Sweden has freedom. They believe in freedom of religion. They believe that you can come to their country and practice whatever religion that you want. And they actually believe in freedom of religion. That would be something that you would want to take a look at. So these people are saying, oh, well, thanks for all of the gifts and stuff. Now we want to set up Sharia law in your country. We want religion to govern. And the whole idea about freedom of religion is that the government has no say whatsoever in religion, which is the exact opposite, the direct opposite of Sharia law. Now, I said that the police has been tasked with being politically correct. The politicians are trying to enforce political correctness. Literally, you cannot say anything against the refugees. They have said that you will be fired. You could even be taken to court, be arrested if you say anything. How does a country go from all of these freedoms to the point where if you say anything about open and obvious stuff, just obvious stuff, hey, we can't take care of literally the guy said, if I say we cannot take care of the refugees, I could be arrested in Sweden. This is how insane this entire stuff is. There's only 5 million, a little bit more than 5 million in Sweden. So there's literally 1 million foreigners living in Sweden now. They have the power to say no. They have the power to kick these people out. Enough is enough. Now, I'm brutal with my honesty. It makes 0 sense to keep inviting people in that you can't even take care. You can't even guarantee the safety of your own citizens. Your economy is going down. Your economy is going down. Literally, that means that you should not be in our office as a politician, because whatever you're doing is completely the opposite of what it should be. Does that go for Obama? Yes, of course it goes for Obama. That goes without saying. Obama should not have been elected to definitely not a second term, and definitely not a first term. But you're going to say, oh, with Shakaama, we didn't have a crystal ball. Yes, you knew what he stood for. People that everybody said, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. He's not a communist. He is a communist. His entire life was communism. Not socialism, communism. But for some reason, but this is a historic moment. Okay, why didn't you vote for Jesse Jackson? Why didn't you vote for Al Sharpton? Why is this historic, but they weren't historic? Huh? Well, he had the numbers. He didn't have the numbers. He was literally an obscure senator from Chicago. Obscure. Jesse Jackson had more name recognition. Al Sharpton had more name recognition than Barack Obama. People didn't even know how to spell his name. People didn't even know if he was American. Serious question. If your economy is down and you're a politician, you shouldn't be in office, point blank. Whatever you're doing is wrong. You should be removed from office. If the Swedish politicians, what can you say? What can you say to them? I mean, what can you say to your population? I'm doing my best. I'm trying. No, you're not. No, you've not. If anybody's been paying attention, you have not been trying. And you've not been doing your best. And in fact, it is you who are trying to enforce political correctness on the people to say that you cannot say our economy is going in the pits. I'm sorry, not going in the pits, is in the pits. Nobody can even talk. This is some sort of dictatorial type of stuff going on. In Sweden, the land of freedom and happiness and all that sort of stuff. This is spreading worldwide. And just to get to a conspiracy theory, the politicians have been invited to the Bilderberg group, the very next meeting. What do you think they're going to say? They're going to say, invite more immigrants, invite more refugees, get more refugees in the country. Why? Because they want to destroy all semblance of any sort of governorship. What does governorship means? That you are to govern and take care of the people who are under you, mainly your citizens. And you're supposed to be an impartial judge of your citizens. But your citizens are to come first. That's the whole point of you being elected to the position of governorship. A Swedish politician isn't supposed to be looking out for French citizens. And they're definitely not supposed to be looking out for refugee or immigrants. Point blank. Brutal honesty. You're not supposed to be looking out for their well-being. Over and above your own citizens. If you cannot guarantee the safety of your own citizens, you should not be in office. That's all the way from the lowest policeman all the way up to the highest politician. You shouldn't be in office. Thank you for watching this Shakaama Politics.